It's a good tuna, but I think I paid too much.
I always wear my mask and wash my hands after going home.
I am the king of the league.
Welcome to the Japan What Podcast, episode 185. And I am your host, MatthewPMBigelow.com. And I'm coming at you from the Aizumicho Studios in Shinjuku, Tokyo, Japan. The Armpit of Asia. Covering Japan Society 5.0, AI markets and trends, depopulation, migration, rising conflict in the Indo-Pacific, and more. And we thank you for coming to today's show. Didn't record last week. Some people reached out. Thank you for reaching out. The actual reason is rather silly. I live in Japan as a Canadian, and you live here long enough, and it's not here, but you live in a different country or a different culture long enough, and there's no end of the surprises that you encounter, and they kind of get more trivial like the longer you're here, but also in a way it's more indicative of just how different things can be on the day-to-day. Like when you first come here, you're like, oh, wow, look, it's clean. Where I'm from, it's dirty. And that's kind of this observation most people make. Oh, it's this clean in Japan. Or, oh, they don't really speak English here. And I'm like, well, should they? And I'm like, well, they do study for 10 years, and it is billions of taxpayer dollars every year spent on it. So, yeah, maybe they should. But that's an insight. But last week, I have had 2 kids during stupid COVID, and they go to a preschool. And in Japan, if you always have to take their temperature every day, like that's what I mean by cultural surprises. You have to take their temperature every day. And if they are 37.5 degrees Celsius or more, they're not allowed to go. It doesn't matter if they're eating. It doesn't matter if they're playing. If they're 37.4 degrees and have a runny nose and are very lethargic, you can bring them. But if it's over 37.5 degrees Celsius, you're not allowed to take them. So that's what happened last week. My son, he had like a 38 degrees, and I guess that's getting a little high, but he was fine. And then he can't go the next day either, unless you go to a clinic and book a meeting with a doctor, and they screen them and check to make sure that everything's okay. And then they contact the preschool and let them know that this doctor said it's okay. And you might have to bring a note or something like that. So it was like a 3-day weekend. And then he's supposed to go to school on the Tuesday. Then he couldn't. So the Wednesday. By the Thursday, I was like, it's just over. But it's weird because it's one of those things where if you flipped it on its like reverse, and the Japanese people were like, well, how often do you take your kid's temperature? It's like, we never do. How many thermometers do you have in your house? Like, we don't have thermometers in our house. We might, but it's not like it's a go-to thing. I mean, you're required to take the temperature every day. Like before you leave the house, you take the temperature and you record it in a book, and then you submit the book on a daily basis. And I'm fine with it. It is what it is. I'm not saying it is Sasuga Nihonjin is what Fuad would say. But anyways, it's just one of those things where, yeah, you kind of look at it and go, so that's what they do here, huh? Okay. All right. Well, I might have opinions about it, but I sure as hell ain't going to change anything. What am I going to do? Start writing letters, form a coalition? 38 is fine, you know. I don't know what to do. So anyways, that's why there was no podcast last week. I got to spend a few extra days with my kid, which was fine. After a while, though, it's like, you can just go play. I'm going to chill out for a while. Can't really, as like a 44-year-old man, run around like playing all day. Eventually, you're just like, I think a 4-year-old's job is to play, and a 44-year-old's job is to play a little bit. Okay? All right. Well, let's take a look at today's topic list here. Got a big beefy enchilada of news. I don't know about you, but I've been seeing nuclear pop up a lot, and not in the terms of nuclear war, even though that is happening. They're going to nuke us all. I mean nuclear power. And this nuclear power just started flooding into my feeds on the algos there, on the scrollers. So I'm scrolling, and everything is suddenly about nuclear power. Nuclear power here, nuclear power in southern Japan, nuclear power in Korea. The new government of Japan, the new prime minister, Mr. Ishiba, he's saying we need nukes with a new NATO-like alliance. That kind of goes back to the nuclear war thing, or nuclear deterrence, but just became nuclear. And uranium stocks are like way up in the past 2 weeks. I don't normally do stocks and stuff like that in graphs, but let's just look it up on the old Google here. Uranium stocks. Uranium Energy Corp. Wait, no, it's not giving me anything. But I went down this road, so I intend to deliver. All right, I found a graph from Fred.stlouisfed.org, and this shows the global price of uranium in US dollars. And indeed, it's spiking. In 2017, it was at about $20 per unit. Doesn't really matter. But now it's at like $80 or about $70. We've had this rapid uptick in uranium after July 2023. And it's just been kind of going up and up and up and then down and down, but maintaining a steady increase there. So I just wanted to deliver some nuclear news. I mean, if this continues, it might have to become a kind of a segment, and it's also linked to AI data centers. So Microsoft is going to take 3 Mile Island in New York, that one that melted down, and use it exclusively, I believe, to power its AI data centers. So we're seeing this massive interest. So this could be like an investing opportunity. I don't really offer any advice with investing whatsoever. But because I've been covering artificial intelligence market trends for the past 5 years on this podcast, but before that 5 years in big tech as a teacher at SoftBank, analyzing these trends for their engineers there. Weird job, but it happened, and I loved it. I wish it was back, but it's not. But anyways, this feeds into this whole pipeline of AI data centers and using nuclear power for the AI. And so whether this AI thing succeeds or it doesn't succeed, I'm not an evangelist. I'm rather agnostic about it, but I like to profile it to see how it's being implemented into the lives around us, because it's going to affect me and my family and you and yours. And it's rapidly expanding right now. It's crazy. It's important to follow the trends. And if they need the nuclear power to do it, and this AI data center surveillance society is being implemented around us on a 5 to 10 year plan, well, then whether it's successful or not, to get uranium, to mine it, to process it, and then to build all the nuclear facilities and then connect it to the data centers, this is a multi-year plan that involves high levels of technology, expertise, and infrastructure. So it seems to me like whether it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing or a success or failure for the next 3 or 4 years, probably going to see a lot of money being poured into this, unless, of course, they get bombed by eco-activists or World War III kicks off or something like that, or we start sort of targeting each other's nuclear power plants with codes, like with what the Israelis did to Iran, I think in 2010 or 2012, some way back when they did that. They coded it, hacked it, and I think they hacked their centrifuges for some sort of uranium processing or something like that. Anyways, unless something like that happens at scale, like some force majeure, then the pipeline and the infrastructure would be halted. But I mean, look at the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. If this is the plan, and that's a plan. So I don't know if it's an investing opportunity or not, but let's just take a quick look here. And I should just preface this by saying there's a major push against nuclear power by a lot of activists in Japan. But I think a lot of the major players are leaning towards it because of the instability that might arise from having to rely on imports from Iran or Iraq or wherever we're getting it from, Saudi Arabia. If things kick off down there and we're left without coal or oil imports in Japan, our goose is cooked. Anyways, This comes to us on October 19th, 2024. We're recording this on October 22nd, 2024. And this comes to us from xenospectrum.com, and it's translated from Japanese into English. And it might be based on a Bloomberg article, which is where I first originally saw it. And I don't like Bloomberg, so I'm using this. NVIDIA-backed Japan-based Ubitus to build AI data center near nuclear power plant. With the rapid development of AI tech, the development of infrastructure to support its enormous computing power has become a global issue. In response to this trend, Japanese technology companies have also begun to take action. Ubitus, a Japanese cloud gaming service company invested in by the U.S. semiconductor giant NVIDIA, has revealed plans to build a new data center for generative AI. Couldn't predict that 10 years ago. This gaming company is going to need nuclear power for its GPUs. Ubitus plans new AI data center that will use nuclear power. That's kind of mentioned. Reasons for choosing a site near a nuclear power plant. Pursuit of efficiency and stability. The huge electricity demands of Genesis AI are what led Ubitus to consider a site near a nuclear power plant. The company already runs computer servers for cloud gaming in Tokyo and Osaka, but a data center for Genesis AI would require even more power. CEO Guo evaluates nuclear power as the most efficient, cheap, and stable form of electricity and is suitable for AI. This view takes into account the enormous amount of electricity consumed by NVIDIA's graphics processing unit GPUs, which is the heart of generative AI. Sitting close to nuclear power plants also has the advantage of minimizing power losses due to transmission. Quote, unless there are better, more efficient, and cheaper energy options, nuclear power remains the most competitive option in terms of cost and supply scale, Guo said. So I just thought that was interesting. And it says global IT giants also turned. So Amazon AWS is buying a data center campus, and they want a nuclear power plant as well for energy. They're investing $650 million in that. Microsoft, like I mentioned, 3 Mile Island. And additionally, Oracle founder Larry Ellison has revealed plans to build a 16-watt data center campus with 3 small modular reactors. And Google also recently signed a 500 megawatt deal with small modular reactor provider Kairos Power, which plans to have 6 to 7 reactors up and running by 2030. So anyways, like I said, this is a massive plan, massive scale. And this isn't just solar powers on tops of buildings. This is pretty advanced technology and pretty advanced know-how. And that means they're taking this AI thing very seriously. So I'm going to cover this in the Japan Society 5.0 segment later, but just, because people will tune out sometimes before that. There's 2 sides of the AI crazy coin that keep us all distracted that I don't focus on unless it's to bring attention to the distraction. I'm kind of talking about it right now. One side of the crazy coin is AI is going to take our jobs, become our friend. No, it's going to become our friends, take our jobs, then screw our wives before killing us. And that's like a defeatist attitude towards it. And I'm not really seeing it take jobs, but I'm seeing it be included in jobs more and more. So I'm not sure about that first one. I might have to cross it off the list sometime soon. I'm looking for work right now, and the amount of AI-generated content out there by lazy managers is really high. And then the other side of the crazy coin is useless AI consumer rollouts on our tablets and devices that just keep us tapping on our phones. And so when you those two get like the lion's share of media attention. And when we say now we need AI data centers to power these devices, a lot of people just scoff and go, what? My iPad needs some nuclear power. This thing's going to fail. Well, there's another aspect to it, and it's the next rollout of technology into our society on an infrastructural level. And I'll get more into it later, but that's the reason I focus on it. When you tie it into infrastructure and layout and being sifted into new developments all around us, it makes more sense. But when you look at it in terms of philosophical, what is artificial intelligence? Like those arguments that I always hear, and then people react to it. It's like, well, what is it? And it kind of goes into this feedback loop of insanity, and I steer clear of it because of the amount of research I did on China India and other places that are looking at it from just like plugging it into things and seeing how it works and then rolling it out into the public. Like it's not a philosophical standpoint. They don't sit around and go, well, is it artificial and is it intelligence? They don't worry about that. They don't get stuck on those things. So yeah, there's that. All right. So let's take a look at the next nuclear power news. Let's go back to the old liste du topics. Japan's oldest reactor okayed to operate beyond 50 years, coming to us from the Mainichi, October 16th. And of course, after Fukushima, it made a lot of people wary about nuclear power, as I was very wary of it. I mean, we had this massive earthquake. I was watching the internet and I saw a stream of the Fukushima dome like blow off and just shoot up into the air. And I'm like, well, that's not very far away from Tokyo, and I'm getting the hell out of here. Like, that was scary. But, I mean, what else is scary? Everything. So maybe we're okay. Are we? I don't know. But anyways, the powers that be are kind of indicating that, yeah, we're going back to nuclear and we're going hard. The aging number 1 reactor of the Takahama nuclear power plant in central Japan was given the all clear by the nuclear regulator Wednesday to continue operations, making it the first reactor in the country to get approval to operate beyond 50 years. Crazy how old this technology is now. The Nuclear Regulation Authority gave the green light to Kansai Electric Power Co.'s management plan for the next 10 years for the reactor, which marks its 50th anniversary next month, as the government considers nuclear power vital in the resource-poor country's energy mix. The Regulation Authority confirmed the operations evaluation, blah, blah, blah. So it kind of goes on from there. All right, so that's the nuclear news for today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Here we go.
Yeah, nuclear, the nukes. And we're going to tie that into Japan Society 5.0.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0. A technology-based, human-centered society. The fourth industrial revolution will raise our standard of living and solve various challenges we face. It will, for example, free us from the stress of driving, allowing us to safely visit anyone, anytime. We will have access to the latest medical advancements at a low cost, no matter where we are. AI and robots will enhance human ability and expand our infinite possibilities, helping us enjoy more fulfilling lives. Society 5.0. For the betterment of human lives.
All right, and that's the Japanese government's theme song, I guess, for its Japan Society 5.0 rollout. Yeah, all that stuff. And you'll notice that it's deeply connected to the World Economic Forum, with the fourth industrial revolution being mentioned in there. Klaus Schwab talking about the fourth industrial revolution in his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, written by Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum. And when the previous prime minister, Mr. Kishida, was in power, Klaus would come by and they would meet and talk about it and repeat the same things to each other. And the new prime minister, Mr. Ishiba, who is a former defense minister, I don't know what that means, though, in terms of his abilities, but he also mentioned that he plans on continuing Kishida's economic policies, new capitalism, which is another term for stakeholder capitalism, which is another book written by Klaus Schwab called Stakeholder Capitalism. Yeah, so it all kind of cycles in. It's not all World Economic Forum, and I don't mean to kind of go down some sort of David Ickean route of, you got to get out of the cult. It's just, it is what it is. And if you don't include that into the analysis, you're leaving out a giant stinky pie, and you need to have that pie, or else you become David Icke. who I used to respect a little bit, but now he just sounds like an old man screaming into the computer. You're not doing it right. Why are you trusting this man? I wouldn't trust him as far as I can throw him. Okay, whatever, David. Good luck to you, sir. I don't know. It's like it kind of, so much has happened in the past 15, 20 years that unless you're like out on the ground, if you're just some dude in a computer on a little island in some English channel, it's like, how much can you know? You know, how much can you know? You may have gotten the downloads from the stars in like in the 80s or 90s, whatever. But anyways, I'm not going to go too much into that. So let's go. Toyota unveils hydrogen cartridges, energy storage at Japan Mobility Show. This comes to us from fuelcellworks.com. I actually have the tab open up here. I do a lot of the research in Japanese and some of it in English, so sometimes it takes a minute to load up because of the translation software here. Just hold on a second. All right. Toyota to unveil revolutionary portable hydrogen cartridges and more at Japan Mobility Show Biz Week 2024. This comes to us from Fuel Cell Works, like I said. Now, the reason I'm including this is because Toyota is a very serious company. And if you work at a very big company like I did, I worked at SoftBank, they will initiate projects and they will kind of make a big whoopity-doo about them. Like, we're going to go here. But if they don't find value in it, they will cut it short without hesitation. But the fact that the Toyota decided to skip more or less going full EV because they said it's not really a solid business model for them globally. I mean, Tesla does it very well, but Tesla is not just EV. It's full self-driving. There's a whole bunch of reasons to go for Tesla. It's not just we have a battery now. It's a major part of the stack, but not the whole part. But anyways, Toyota was criticized, but Toyota was saying we're looking at hydrogen, and the fact that they're now trying to showcase infrastructure and supply chains for hydrogen by kind of looking at how to transport it, how to store it, how to provide it, making a lot of sense. I see, for example, smaller vehicles by the Japan Post that are EV, like little scooters or little delivery trucks. But a lot of their fleet is still not electrified. But there is a fleet of hydrogen buses in town here, and they've been expanding in numbers. So we're kind of maybe seeing Japan leapfrog over the EV trend and straight into hydrogen, perhaps. And I'll be including pictures of this at MatthewPMBigelow.com. Coming to us from Toyota City. Now, this is a Japanese news article, so it just repeats the same thing over and over and over again until you get down into the article a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of jump down in here. It says, in pursuit of achieving carbon neutrality through a multi-pathway approach, Toyota will promote co-creation with startups and other companies in the area of 1, initiatives towards realizing a hydrogen society, and 2, renewable energy management, both of which contribute to the stability of energy supply and the reduction of environmental impact. By fostering new partnerships and driving technical innovation, Toyota aims to strengthen its efforts to help create a sustainable future. And it says the main exhibits at this show will be liquid hydrogen-powered GR Corolla. Toyota began racing with a hydrogen-powered Corolla running on gaseous hydrogen in 2021. Since 2023, it has been competing in endurance races in Japan and abroad using a liquid hydrogen-powered GR Corolla. So that's one thing. Portable hydrogen cartridge. Toyota is working on research and development towards realizing a carbon neutral society. See, it's like repeating itself based on a multi-pathway approach with diverse and viable energy options. It's repeating itself. Hydrogen is the ultimate clean energy that emits no CO2. So these portable hydrogen cartridges will be exhibited for the first time in Japan at this event, and the technology Toyota has cultivated in the development of fuel cell EVs is used to reduce the size and weight of hydrogen tank. They're designed to make hydrogen a familiar and safe energy source that can be used in a variety of everyday situations. And they have the hydrogen portable cartridges, and you can find those listed at MatthewPMBigelow.com. Anyways, just looking at hydrogen being rolled out, I'm not sure if you know that the hydrogen is making a lot of steps. But the media usually just covers EVs and how EVs are going to transform the world. But then all these companies invested heavily into EVs, and then the European governments are like, all cars, all EV by 2023 or 2035. And if they're not, then you'll be taxed and regulated. But Toyota is like, we're not doing that. And then they look at hydrogen. They're like, this technically looks more feasible. I don't know about you, but who are you going to trust? Some Greenpeace activist who has no technical training in almost anything? Or are you going to trust the engineering team at Toyota? Take your pick. I'm going with Toyota. So I say I'm going with Toyota. And then you look at the next headline. It's like, oh, wait, am I? I don't know. Toyota's top scientist considers applying generative AI to autonomous driving. Okay. Toyota Motor Corporation's head of scientific research, Jill Pratt, 63, responded to interviews with Kyoto News and other media on the 21st, expressing his intention to consider applying generative artificial intelligence to autonomous driving technology. So we're putting AI in the AI. It may become possible to avoid collision risks with much less data than before. However, he pointed out that there are issues to be addressed before this technology can be put to practical use, such as the extent to which society can accept accidents caused by autonomous driving. The movement to utilize generative AI is spreading to other automakers. Sony Honda Mobility has partnered with Microsoft to introduce it to the dialogue system of the electric vehicle Afela, currently under development. The driver's preferences will be reflected in the interior space. It is also planned to use it for autonomous driving. Pratt was a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So that's like a DARPA link there. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. There's also IARPA for the internet, and HARPA for health. He also worked for the Department of Defense and has been a driving force in the fields of AI and robotics. He is currently CEO of Toyota's Advanced Research Institute in Silicon Valley. He recently visited Japan and gave a speech to the press in Chino, Nagano Prefecture. From Kyoto News, this now leads me to believe that Toyota has some pretty deep connections. If you're getting like Department of Defense people and deep staters, as some people would call them, or he's just like a guy who's really good at his job. That's some pretty good connections there. But Toyota is the car company of the world. But anyways, when I was working in big tech, onward to another topic, payments. It's interesting how fast this stuff is rolling out, because when I was working in big tech, and in Japan, the QR code payments hadn't really been taken off at this time. This was like late 2015 to 2020, about 2020 it had, but let's say 2017, 2018. In Japan, almost nobody had really heard of QR code payments. People coming back from China might talk about it, or, Chinese people would talk about it amongst themselves, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But I remember compiling some research for the people in the program I was with, and try to introduce to them this idea of payments and things like that. And there were some kind of small startups in Japan that were trying to do it, working with convenience stores to offer free coffee if you scan a QR code, stuff like that. And it hadn't really been taken off. And then on the Friday, when this meeting convened, right after everybody left, we got an email from the company announcing that they were releasing a new QR code payment system called PayPay by SoftBank. And so all the people that were doing this course with me were like, whoa, dude, you nailed it, man. I was like, yeah, I nailed it. And anyways, PayPay is the largest QR code payment system in Japan. I had nothing to do with it, of course. I'm just saying. My predictions at the time were sometimes on, sometimes off. Digital wage payments start in Japan via PayPay in cashless drive. So now we've gone from this will never happen in Japan to, oh, it's happening to Japan to, oh, we're going to get paid with this app in Japan. I'm not sure how I feel about getting all of my money sent to an app on my phone. I'm not very comfortable with it. It feels like to me it's a push for the central bank digital currencies and the monitoring aspect of it as well. I always view it as a convenience, not as a new thing to put all my eggs in. What I mean by that is I have a bank account, I have a cash card, I have a credit card, and okay, I can also charge some money onto an app to use for things like if I'm out and about and can't get my wallet out of my bag for some reason, I just scan something on my phone at the convenience store. Okay, maybe they're tracking the fact that I bought a donut or something. I don't know, but it's something that I'm willing to sacrifice for the convenience of it. But to have everything put on the app, and now what is that going to do? In the future, I'm not so certain. So I'm not, but for other people, it does make sense because I was researching migrant workers in places like Hong Kong. This is before it was eliminated essentially by the Chinese Communist Party. But in Hong Kong or in other places, they had a lot of migrant workers. And like Filipino workers in Hong Kong would get their payments sent to them via an app, and then they could send their remittances home via the app to their family in the Philippines or to Indonesia or all these other places. And they kind of linked up the banks so that it all worked fine and it could be distributed. So these like maids or low-level workers didn't have to go to banks or fill out transfer funds or go to a computer and log into their separate bank account. For them, they would receive the payment from their cleaning jobs or whatever, and then send it back home via the app to their family using the app. So in that case, okay, it seems like it's saving that poor person time and nothing wrong against it. But is it for everybody? So this is the conundrum. Digital wage payments have started in Japan after the operator of popular QR code-based payment app PayPay became the first to clear the government's screening under a cashless drive. 10 SoftBank Group Corp firms, including PayPay Corp, said they have started paying wages from September through PayPay to employees with their consent. They can specify up to 200,000 yen of their salary be paid via the app. The move comes after the Labor Ministry said in 2022 it will allow companies to pay wages to digital payment apps from April 2023 in a bid to promote cashless payments as a way to stimulate the economy. Workers who do not wish to be paid digitally can still receive wages through direct deposits to their bank accounts. Quote, this initiative aims to enhance employee benefits by increasing salary payment options and to promote the expansion of the PayPay economic sphere across the entire group, the company said in a joint statement. PayPay has over 65 million registered users. Diversifying the method of salary payments is expected to meet the demand of employees, the PayPay operator said, citing a government survey in 2020 showing that some 40% of workers would consider having their wages paid to their QR code-based payment accounts. Under the digital wage payment system, the maximum balance of digital wallets for receiving wages is set at 1 million yen to protect users, as unlike banks, app operators are not subject to the nation's deposit insurance system, which covers principal up to 10 million yen in case of bankruptcy. App providers must undergo government screening lasting at least 1 year to assess whether they can secure the balance of wages that have been paid, even if their businesses fail. Currently, 3 other app operators have applied with the Labor Ministry for designation. Yeah, it's happening. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. I just view my phone as an audio device, and like there's some extra things. Oh, I can pay for something at the convenience store, but a lot of people they are in their phones. Like their phone is a digital twin of themselves, and they're fine with it. I see most women around Tokyo now. They have a strap around their phone, like what they would have for a bag. So their bag is replaced by a phone in many cases. They don't walk around with a bag. They walk around with a phone with a strap on it. I see dudes doing that too. And it's like a fashion accessory. So it's going where it's going. All right, next topic. Back in April, I read a report that, and this terrifies me, that major global corporations were moving into rural areas of Japan to offer Japanese local political systems advice on how to implement AI governance systems. And I've been having this float around in the back of my head because that to me is another indicator of something big being developed for me, for you, for me and my family, for you and your family. And I was also thinking if this is going down, whose favor is it going to fall under? Because I'm pretty sure that the local governments of Japan can't really compete with the powerhouses of these corporations. And how much of the laws will be based on corporation and how much of the law will be based on human? That's kind of what's floating around my brain, because I don't really trust Microsoft to make my life better via the government, if that makes sense. Do you? Thank you, Microsoft, for working with the government to create AI governance laws in my local areas. I wonder. Polymill implements specialized AI switching function in production version of generative AI tool for local governments and government ministries. This comes to us from iotnews.jp. Polymill Inc. has announced that it will implement a new feature in the production version of Commons AI, a generative AI tool the company provides for local governments and government ministries. The ability to switch between different conversational AI. This function allows a user to hand over a conversation with one specialized generation AI to another specialized generation AI. For example, by shifting the conversation from a public service support AI that responds to inquiries from residents to an AI with a more specialized knowledge, such as an AI to combat social isolation, an AI to combat poverty and hardship, or an AI related to taxes, users will be able to utilize multiple specialized AIs within a single interface to carry out their tasks. Oh my goodness. Imagine accidentally, like, somebody wants their taxes and they want to talk with an AI tax chatbot, but the government official because they're just so asleep at the wheel because it's such a dull job, they assign somebody the AI to combat social isolation. It's like, I want to have some questions about my taxes. Are you okay? Are you isolated? It's okay. You can talk to me or your friends. Like, I just need some tax support. Yes, we all need support, but not only for taxes, for your emotions as well. It's like, what kind of government program is this? The Public Service Support AI is equipped with all kinds of administrative documents from government ministries and local governments across the country, while the Social Isolation Countermeasures AI and Poverty and Hardship Countermeasure AI are equipped with information such as academic papers, white papers, and reports in their respective fields of expertise, implemented as knowledge based on standardization data rules for the generation of AI. I'm not going to go too much into it because it kind of goes off from there, but in a way, this kind of does make sense. And I'll explain why. Because if you have a data set that's trained with socialization and taxes, and you actually want to talk about your taxes, well, sometimes with neural nets, they overlap with each other if they're not separated. And it might start giving you answers that are more aligned with another field of expertise. So by limiting the chatbots to areas of expertise, you can technically get what you would like more quickly. And let's just say, like, how many tax professionals are there? And maybe you just have some simple questions. Maybe chatting with a government AI chatbot that would provide you with clear explanations and links to things and just kind of refer to documents and maybe send you an email after with all of that included into it. Could be more useful of your time instead of waiting on hold and then somebody talking and then, then another person comes on, all that type of stuff. So it could be interesting, but I'm not sure how much more removed from the government we're going to become because of these things. We're going to interact with the government itself, not with the people representing the government. So the government will be AI-ified and we will just interface with the government AI. So in fact, instead of going via a proxy, an employee or somebody working there, we will just go via a chatbot. And now we don't have to pay that person a salary because it's the taxpayer. We don't have to pay for their pension. We don't have to support them in any way or means possible. So what's better, to interact via the government, via like a government avatar floating around in the internet? Or is it better to go in and talk to somebody? Wow, that's a philosophical question, actually. I'll be listing another article about AI and data governance up at MatthewPMBigelow.com. And it is in Japanese, but you can translate it very easily using Google Chrome and things like that. But the title is, and it's a Japanese headline, therefore it is very long. What is data governance? Explaining the difference between data governance and data management, as well as the benefits and points to note for companies. So it's very It's a slog. I find it interesting, but I'm not going to read it out on the page here. So go to MatthewPMBigelow.com for all the links, photos, and more. You can also make a donation at paypal.me/JapanWUT. That's paypal.me/JapanWUT. Or why not get yourself set up on a new Podcasting 2.0 app and send some Bitcoin directly through the app. Go to modernpodcastapps.com and go check it out. I'm using Podverse, by the way, for my podcasts. Moving on. Pizza Hut releases 130% cheese all pizza using Taste AI to find the golden ratio. Optimal taste solution. The best match for fried oysters is ponzu. That's the headline. That's the headline. When you think about cultural differences, like measuring your kid's temperature every day, or they can't go to school, you're like, what? This is another one. Japanese headlines. Blow your mind. On the 21st of October, the pizza delivery chain Pizza Hut released a new pizza. A pizza made by a collaboration between humans and AI has finally been completed. This is an AI pizza born from cutting-edge science. Pizza Hut released a new pizza. AI determines increased cheese by 130%. When the reporting team visited the development site, a hot pizza was immediately brought out of the oven. Coincidence? On the left is the conventional product, and on the right is the new AI pizza. The answer that the cutting-edge AI came up with was increase the amount of cheese used to 130%. When newscaster Naofumi Kajitani tried it, he commented, "It's delicious. The 130% version has a stronger cheese flavor than the 100% version, but it's not too strong and is easy to eat." Takuma Komori, manager of product development unit at Pizza Hut Japan, said, "Humans sometimes feel that their tastes change slightly depending on the season. So when I found out there was something like the AI taste sensor Leo, I thought it would be useful for the development. When newscaster Naofumi Kajita tried it, he commented, 'It's delicious.'" AI taste sensor Leo can analyze 5 different tastes. And it kind of goes into the flavor there. But again, it goes on from there. And then it also says ponzu sauce goes well with fried oysters. If you're interested in that, MatthewPMBigelow.com is your source. Moving on. I thought this one is interesting as well. Totally different topic. Tobu Sports introduces Gym DX. And DX is a Japanese government term meaning digital transformation, provided by OptFit, an AI surveillance camera for gyms, realizing an unmanned women's gym and establishing a new management model. So there's gyms everywhere now, like little gyms, little Peters, little Pauls, little Marys. Hey there, little gym. But there's these little gyms popping up all over the place in Tokyo right now. I don't know. I think it's Chinese dumping. I think there's just so much equipment's been made over the past 20 years. People buy it used and think that they can just open up a gym and like charge 3,000 yen a month, and people come in and run on the machines and blah, 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 and then leave. But anyways, a lot of these places are unmanned now, or almost unmanned, and you require a key pass to get in, and it locks behind you, and you can put little security buttons on around your neck via a necklace, and if somebody is like there, you push the button, and it, you know, if they're trying to get at you for some reason, then you can sound the alarm. You don't need to rush to an alarm. So they try to make it as safe as possible, but unmanned women's gyms have been exceptionally difficult to bring to market. So this is what this company is trying to do. The OptFit Gym Corporation is pleased to announce that the Tobu Sports Club Prion Kitakoshigaya will use an AI camera solution for fitness gyms developed and provided by the company, and has published an interview article summarizing the background effects of the introduction. Prion Kitakoshikaya is a comprehensive sports club with everything from a pool to a studio. Before the spread of COVID-19, hot yoga classes were very popular, but due to concerns about the spread of infection, it became difficult to hold classes, and the hot yoga studio became vacant. Another victim of stupid COVID. In order to make effective use of this space, they decided to take on a new initiative, creating a women-only gym that could be used while as well as being unmanned. This is how the women-only training gym before Baitore was born. Detore Bitore was born. When considering introducing cameras to differentiate our operators from those with other gyms other than this place and to attract young women in their 20s and 30s, they went to an exhibition and heard about GMDX, and they kind of go on from there. So this is translated very poorly. I'm going to bounce out of this. But up until now, without the technology, an unmanned women's gym would just be an open invitation for creepy weirdo perverts that would go in there and harass women or hide behind. It would just be too risky and too dangerous. So interesting that they can now put cameras in there with AI functionality in them and use that as a stack to kind of offer more services to people. Not bad. All right. Today's topics are kind of a mishmash of not really like I consider the government one kind of a life-changing one. But a lot of these are just like examples of how this technology is dripping into the regular world around us. It's not some major like thing that is suddenly like a new building. It's part of the infrastructure now, and it's dripping into the world around us. I think this will be the last one for today. Nishida Funeral Home introduces the latest AI chatbot to provide 24-hour support for funeral-related questions. The Reaper is an AI. The AI Reaper. Ooh, show title. Nishida Funeral Home has introduced an AI chatbot to answer questions about funerals. You could ask questions or get advice at any time, 24 hours a day. Nishida Funeral Company has introduced an AI chatbot on its website. Why do you repeat yourselves? Questions and consultations about funerals can be difficult to ask face-to-face and can be difficult depending on the time and the situation. In response to these challenges, Nishida Funeral Home has introduced a chatbot that utilizes the latest AI technology to make it easier to access. This allows customers to instantly access a wide range of information about funerals, such as the contents and the procedures of the funeral, even when they are out and about. Or I would say when people are grieving, but they don't really know when it's appropriate time to ask something, or it's at night and everyone's sleeping, they can finally maybe sit down and go through the process, not have to wait for somebody. But an AI funeral chatbot, interesting, huh? The AI chatbot has also a built-in continuous learning function. So even if there is a question that it cannot answer immediately, the question and answer are compiled and will evolve to be reflected in future responses. In addition, the chatbot can also provide advice on LGBTQ plus funerals, which have been attracting social attention in recent years. I wonder why. Allowing the service to meet a wider range of needs and provide an environment where anyone can seek advice with peace of mind. Yeah, it's time to meet your maker, Mr. LGBTQ plus. Nishida Funeral Home commented, "Through the introduction of this AI chatbot, we aim to create a society in which people who have concerns about funerals and end-of-life planning can easily have their questions resolved and proceed with preparations with peace of mind." Anyways, that was kind of out of left field, wasn't it? LGBTQ AI funeral consultation AI chatbot machine for you at your convenience, anytime you would like. What I couldn't even imagine. Like, you're dead. You're dead. My LGBTQ plus son or father has died. I need to know about LGBTQ plus funeral procedures. All funeral procedures are the same, as far as I know. He wants to be in a suit, but he wants some lipstick and a blue wig. Is that okay? The answer is yeah, who gives a shit? Should my father be buried with his blue wig and crotchless panties? Who cares? He wants his dildo collection to be placed in the coffin with him before it's cremated, but we're worried about the chemicals of the dildos mixing with his bones. Is this Buddhist friendly as well as LGBTQ plus appropriate? Are these the questions that people, that would be a fun question to ask. It's like, we'll get back to you on that one. Imagine sending those types of questions to the developers to consider in the future. Wow. All right. That's a weird one. All right. That's going to be Society 5.0 for today.
The fourth industrial revolution will enable us to create a new society. Artificial intelligence will transform the big data collected through the Internet of Things into new wisdom. Society 5.0, a technology-based, human-centered society.
All right. Weird, huh? Weird how it's but I wanted to showcase those just to indicate, like I said, it's a drip into the world around us. You log on to a website, now you're talking to an AI chatbot about LGBTQ plus funerals. Interesting. We're going to talk about BRICS. All right. The reason I want to talk about BRICS is because Japan's not invited. And we have this multipolar world emerging. And again, it's often poo-pooed by Western media as just some backwards group of idiots that don't know what they're doing and not even paying really attention to it or taking it seriously at all. But I'm taking it very seriously because another pie is being made, and the limited amount of resources that we have in the world are being put into this pie, and Japan is part of the G7 pie. So as more and more countries join the BRICS pie, we might expect to have less things in our pie and to have them cost more. Because the G7 has been on this activist mission for the past 20 years, and it's very hypocritical in many people's viewpoints. So the fact that America could go into Afghanistan and Iraq and do Libya and Syria and all these things, and then Russia goes into Ukraine, and Russia gets kicked off the SWIFT system, the payment system for international banks and things like that. Well, a lot of other countries take note and go, that could be us. It could be arbitrary. And so BRICS announced in about 2008 or 2009 originally between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, kind of a new something. It wasn't really fleshed out then. But now it's at the point where it is being fleshed out. When Russia got kicked off of SWIFT, Russia was basically... It just went into China's arms. Now China and Russia are best friends in a way. And Europe is failing. And the arrogance of the G7 might be its undoing for the short term or even the long term. So as we look into this, if we're not aware of what's happening over the hill, well, by the time it comes at us, if we're caught flat-footed, you're not going to know what to do. So I cover this because I view it as a very serious movement in the history of the financial world. And it's being played out right in front of us. And Japan is pushed up right against China, pushed up right against Russia. It's where the G7 ends and the multipolar world begins. So we should know about it. BRICS just dropped the demo of its long-awaited payment system, BRICS Pay. This new payment system is rolling out as the group gears up for their big post-expansion summit in Kazan, Russia, which is happening from today. Kazan's a very fascinating place, a very big city, kind of central Russia, and was the capital of the Tatars, the Tatars, I don't know how you say it. Go check out a sabbatical YouTube video. Sabbatical's the guy's name, and he's pretty multilingual, and he goes around the world. He's like a good YouTube documentarian, like travel vlogger. Not a douche. He's good. Sabbatical, Tartar. Kazan. So Russia, this year's BRICS chair, is pushing hard to break away from the grip of Western-controlled financial systems. Well, this comes to us from mitrade.com. Russian Finance Minister Anton Sulyanov called for an alternative to the International Money Fund, the IMF, to push back against the political power plays from America. BRICS now represents 37% of the global economy and evidently wants to level the playing field. BRICS Pay, breaking down the system. BRICS Pay is being called the cornerstone of payment systems for independent sovereign nations, according to their official website. Chinese officials say BRICS Pay will give countries more ways to settle goods and services, strengthening economic ties. And of course, it's designed to help those nations step away from the US dollar. Financial diversification is the name of the game, and this system is reportedly meant to boost economic independence across the board. BRICS Pay is decentralized and independent, a clear move away from the SWIFT system that Europe uses. BRICS has been toying with the idea since 2019, trying to build a unified payment system that works for all member nations. I've been involved in such things, and it's really hard. It's not hard to get money from one place to another place, but to get money from one type of bank through the international money system into another bank and into that type of bank account is very, very difficult because countries have such diverse financial laws and terminologies and ways of doing things. By 2020, BRICS Payments Task Force was already in motion, and the U.S. has been the top dog for a long time, but that dominance has become a problem for some nations. So anyways, it kind of goes on from there. So it says that it's BRICS Pay is being demoed at the new meet for today. And Russia to host Landmarks BRICS Summit, an ongoing bid to shape world order. This is another one. The MoscowTimes.com. I'm not sure what leaning this has, but because it was kind of brought up to me via Google search and DuckDuckGo search, it might be more on the G7 side. I don't know. I could be wrong. When the annual BRICS Summit economic bloc opens up, the capital of Russia's Republic in Tatarstan, Moscow will be pulling out all stops to project the alliance as a rapidly expanding geopolitical counterweight to the West. And it goes on. I'm not going to, but let's just say, established in 2009, the alliance was further expanded into BRICS Plus last year, with Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates joining as permanent members. Saudi Arabia and Argentina were also invited to join in the first major expansion, but neither proceeded with formalizing their membership. Despite the reluctance of some major players to join the BRICS Plus in its current configuration amounts to more than 37% of the world GDP, more than twice of that of the European Union, as well as over 41% of the global population. It goes on from there. And it kind of goes on to say like they're going to focus on Central Asia and other places like that. Okay, next. BRICS is a response to the odious Western system, former Pentagon official. And it goes on from there. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to be posting it up at MatthewPMBigelow.com. And that's more analysis onto the BRICS. But an example of how inter-country trade is increasing due to harsh U.S. sanctions. More and more countries are just working with each other without the U.S. dollar and just going ahead with it, which 20, 30 years ago, most countries would not. If the U.S. dollar, if you were exempted from using the U.S. dollar or from, if you were put on a bunch of sanctions, it was, people would disavow you. But now it's almost seen as a badge of honor, or it's happening to so many countries that they're just going, the hell with it. Let's just make our own thing. You know, Russia and Iran almost fully rely on national currencies in trade. Kremlin. This comes to us from RT.com, which is Russia's state-funded media. Russia and Iran have almost fully phased out using foreign currencies in bilateral trade, the Kremlin has said ahead of the BRICS summit in the Russian city of Kazan. The two nations cover more than 96% of mutual settlements in rubles and rials, the statement said. Bilateral trade volume has grown by 12.4% in the first 8 months of this year alone, Moscow said, adding that in 2023, it accounted to more than $4 billion. Quote, both nations' leadership pays priority attention to developing trade and economic relations, the statement said. Anything else to say about here? Nope, not much at all. So I'm just putting this as like a short compilation at the end of the podcast to kind of indicate that this is their own society 5.0, essentially, where they are developing advanced technologies. It's crazy how much engineering is going on in Turkey, even though it's not mentioned here, but in Russia and China and all these places. And they're at this place now where they're just like, we're just going to do our own thing, and we don't have to worry about LGBTQ plus chatbots in our funeral home systems. Because that's a weird thing to put in there, isn't it? If you want it, you want it. But if you don't, you don't. So a lot of these people are like, well, there's no way we're getting let back into that club. And even if we do want to get let back into the club, we have to kiss the diversity ring, which we're not really into. So let's just make our own society 5.0, and it will be, I guess, just as authoritarian as it ever was. I don't know. I'm not sure what it means, but I look at a lot of Russian travel videos, and Russia looks like a pretty good place now. Looking at it in the 90s, horrible place. Now it looks pretty good. I'm not sure if that's because of the authoritarianism, or maybe there's another reason that we're not being told. But I am not paid, or I don't endorse any of Russia's actions either. I'm just saying what I see, and I don't see, like what I see on the streets of Vancouver, tons and tons of drug addicts on the best parts of Vancouver, sprawled out onto the sidewalks, junked out of their mind, and having weird streetcars, positioned on the streets that are like selling kimchi, Japanese hot dogs, and they're being staffed by African immigrants, which is fine, but it's just, and then every 40% of the people are obese. So you're walking around, you're like junkies everywhere. And then it's like Japanese kimchi hot dogs being sold to you by an Eritrean. And then you look around and just all these white people are just super obese. And you're like, this is weird. Then you look at Russia and it's just a bunch of like people. It is pretty diverse too, but they're thin and they're nice and they're walking around on clean streets and nobody's like erratic. I don't know. That's just what I see. So I'm not sure what kind of direction we're going in with the G7, but it's a little insane. And we pushed off onto this river and we're going down it, and then we'll see where it goes, because I can kind of try to fortify myself, but I'm still in the river, so who knows? All right, well, that's going to be a note from the Kremlin to end the podcast. So thank you for listening to the Japan What podcast. You found it. I'm going to leave with that, and so please go to MatthewPMBigelow.com, and don't leave just yet, because I'm going to include a song that is written by AI, where I take all the headlines for today's show, I put them into Grok, and then I put them into an AI music generator and put in some styles there, and I choose the best one, and I put it at the end of the show, so you can review the show via this catchy tune. So until next time, everyone, thank you for tuning into the Japan What podcast. Until next time, I bid thee a very heartful and warmful ja mata ne.
In Japan, where tech meets tradition, NVIDIA's got a new mission. Build an AI by the sea, powered by nuclear energy. On the Japan What podcast, with AI and cheese in the skies, from cars that run on hydrogen to digital coins for your yen. Toyota scientist, he's no fool, thinking AI for driving school, while Pizza Hut's got a pizza so grand. AI says it's the cheese's wonderland. Data governance, what's the deal? It's not just data you can steal. Poland Mills AI, it switches with flair for governments without a care. Genius now, watch with AI eyes. Japan What podcast streams from the skies. Nishida's chatbots, they never sleep. For funerals and AI is your reaper. On the Japan What podcast, with AI and cheese in the skies, from BRICS new pay to Russia's game, redefining the world's frame.